Kevin Sampson, live at the GI Film Festival on a beautiful Memorial Day weekend. I plan to bring you some interviews with filmmakers, producers, and the stars. That's all ahead on Picture Lock.
My name is Abigail Tannenbaum Sharon, and I produced and directed Rudy Neal Go Fishing, and it's about fishing as recreational therapy for post-traumatic stress disorder.
And what does the GI Film Festival mean to you?
I mean, it's such an honor to be here. We've been really fortunate that we've been in several festivals. I think this is our 11th, but this is the one that we just felt like it would be such a perfect fit and such an honor to be with all of these other filmmakers here.
So far, what's the feedback been for your film, and how's it been received from veterans?
When people, I think, hear about the film, they think PTSD, it's going to be so depressing, but it's actually a really approachable way to talk about it and to explore therapies of what people can do to cope. And veterans oftentimes come up as if I've completed service and will say, thank you so much for that film, you really captured my struggle. And I have to say, thank you for your service. It's just, I'm telling your story, so.
That's awesome. So how can people find your film online?
We're really excited. Tomorrow we do show at 3:30 p.m., but the most exciting news is on Monday, Memorial Day at 8 p.m. it will show on Fox Sports 1.
Awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks.
I'm here with the GIs of comedy. Guys, it's a great weekend to celebrate our veterans. How are you guys feeling about tonight?
I am really excited about Montel Williams is going to be here. I love This Is How We Do It. Wait, that's not the right Montel.
Yeah, it's Jordan.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Close enough. I'm here for Arlie Ermy, honestly. I just want him to yell at me. I wonder if that's what people request of him every time they see him. Could you yell at me? He's
Call me maggot.
I am at dinner, sir. Like,
Well, he was in the Air Force, so he didn't get a lot of yelling when he was...
Listen, they were like, stop with the paper cuts, all right? You're making us look bad, all right? The Air Force is tough.
Guys, what does it mean for you all to bring laughter to the troops?
It's pretty important. I mean, we got requests on the internet like, hey, we had some people come back from deployment and we've lost some folks to suicide and all that. So it's a big deal for us to be able to liven their deployments or when they're at home. I mean, he gets a lot of it because he's a Purple Heart recipient, but sometimes they come up to me when he's not around.
Wow.
And they're like, my husband has been back after his third deployment for 6 months. He hasn't laughed until tonight. And that really hits home, and it makes you feel like what we're doing is, it means something.
Yeah. We did a tour last year for Armed Forces Entertainment, and we did 9 countries and 17 shows. And after one show, actually, an Air Force spouse came up to us and said, "You guys saved my marriage tonight." And our reaction was, we have never been accused of that before. Like, we've been accused of the opposite. As comedians, maybe. But no, that meant the world to us, because as deployed combat vets, we know exactly how hard it is to come home and not be able to laugh or smile or love any of the things you love. And then for one night, for 90 minutes, if these guys and girls and their families and their wives and husbands can remember how to laugh and just forget for 90 minutes and then just gut bust laugh, that's what we bring. That's why we do this.
Wow, awesome. And you guys are doing a pretty big tour right now, right? Or about to start one?
We're lining up about half dozen shows in the States, and haven't announced it quite yet, but we are going overseas again later this fall. It'll be our 4th international tour in 2 years for the troops.
Awesome.
This time it's the Pacific, so it's lots of traveling.
Wow. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much for all you do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, my name's Andre, and I'm here. I'm a producer of War Pigs here with Luke, who's a producer, writer, and actor. Why don't you tell them about what War Pigs is about, Luke?
Yeah, so War Pigs is based around this ragtag unit in World War II. They're formed together as an elite fighting group and sent behind enemy lines to take down one of Hitler's last secret wonder weapons.
We got a great cast. We got Mickey Rourke, we got Chuck Liddell, we got Luke Goss, and we got the legend Dolph Lundgren.
When you talked to him, did you say, I must break you.
Yeah. I can
Yeah,
tell you
that
that was definitely a line that all the other cast members were saying to each other to want to say to Dolph.
Yes.
We're all like, we got to get him to say it. But we were all scared to do it.
Yeah, we were a little scared to do that.
And what's the feedback of the film been so far? Feedback.
Oh,
film.
feedback?
Well, I just got back from the Cannes Film Festival where we did a premiere screening, and it was very positive. Buyers were very excited with the performances of the actors, the action throughout the film, and the storyline. So it's resonating very well.
And I think it was nice to see it here with an audience. We got an applause when we, at the end of the movie, so that's always a positive sign. People laughed where they were supposed to laugh, and they cried when they were supposed to cry. So, I mean, those are all awesome things to see when you're, having your movie play.
And there couldn't be a better film festival than the GI Film Festival to premiere this film. It really, and particularly on Memorial Weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be better timing.
No, GI Film Festival has been a fantastic place for us to screen our movie, and they've given us such awesome reception, and we've been really blessed to be here. I'm really excited.
Awesome. And where can people find the film online or support it?
The film's going to be released in September by Cinedigm. It's going to be released theatrically in a number of limited cities, and it's going to go theatrical. And if it blows up, it'll be in your city as well.
Oh my goodness! I can't believe that I'm talking to you. How are you, sir?
I'm getting better. I'm okay. I'm going to make it, I think.
You're receiving the GI Choice Award tonight. How does that feel?
It's to me, that's better than any Academy Award could ever be. It's being recognized by my own peers, and that means a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm excited, and I'm humble.
That's awesome. One quick question. All right, J.K. Simmons, he took home Best Supporting this year with his role of Fletcher. If Fletcher and Sergeant Hartman met, what do you think that would be like?
We'd probably dance. We'd be able to toss back a couple of beers and tell stories. It'd be good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the interview.
God bless you.
Thank you. Kevin Sampson, Picture Lock. I'm here with Jan Selby, the director of Beyond the Divide. Jan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So the first question is, could you just tell us a little bit about the film, and we can go from there?
Okay, sure. Well, Beyond the Divide is a feature-length documentary about forgiveness and finding common ground. The main characters are Dan Gallagher, who you'll be interviewing, and he's here with me at the GI Film Festival. He is a Vietnam veteran, and the other main character is Betsy Mulligan Day. She's the executive director of the Jeanette Rankin Peace Center in Missoula, and it's a story about the two of them finding a way to heal old wounds, and it's really about if we really focus on what we have in common as opposed to what we have that divides us, we're going to be a lot better off, and miracles can happen.
Yeah, definitely. One of the questions I think is just, how did you come across the material, and how did the material speak to you to make you want to direct the film?
Wow, so this is my first feature film.
Okay.
And I came to filmmaking because it felt like a calling and changed careers only about 8 years ago. And so I had my first film, it's called A Circle and Three Lines, and it's a short about the history of the peace symbol, premiere at the Big Sky Documentary Film Festival in 2010. And when I was there, I heard about this large graffiti peace symbol that had been overlooking Missoula, Montana from 1983 to 2001, and how it divided the town, and it came down in pieces, and you could still see the pieces around town. And that story really intrigued me because I was motivated to make a film that could be used to really get people to think about the value of listening with compassion to each other, kind of a conflict resolution or peace studies type film. Right. While I was making the film, I met Dan and I met Betsy, and they are both pretty amazing people. And I thought I was done making the film. It was a cool story about 3 different perspectives. The phone company who owned this telecommunications panel that the peace symbol was on, painted on, the graffiti one. Right. And then Dan and Betsy with different points of view. And then I was almost done making the film, and one day Dan called me and said, I'm thinking about inviting Betsy to come into a radio studio with me and do something on Montana Public Radio about peace and if we have any common ground. So basically I said, you can't do that without a camera in the room. And I realized that the story was evolving and some really amazing things were happening. So I decided to still follow the story for a year. And one of the things I love about documentary filmmaking is many times you think you're making a story about one thing, and then you end up making a story, and usually a better story, about something else, or it's changed.
Right.
And that totally happened. This film would not be as powerful if it wasn't for what happened in that final year and being able to capture that.
Yeah, I too find it amazing with documentaries. You set out to make a film about X, but then the film tells you, no, this film is actually about,
Totally, yeah.
And I love how you boiled it down to it's a film about forgiveness, and I can't wait to check it out. How has the feedback been so far with the film?
It's been wonderful. What really motivates me is to create a film that makes a difference in the world. I want to leave the world a better place from where I found it in my tiny little way that I can. And so I've been at film festivals with the film for about a year, and now looking at ways to distribute it. It can be brought to anyone's community, and we have a way on the website to learn about that through TUG, and TUG is a distribution partner that allows the film to be brought to any theater or even a community center, and DVDs also are available. But it's really inspiring communities to come together to open up conversations and to really get people to have a commitment to listening with compassion as a way to find common ground. So it's been shown in high schools, Veterans for Peace chapters have sponsored it, peace centers, American Legion chapters. The public TV station in Minnesota is going to be showing it. So we're just at the very beginning of exploring all the many ways that it can get out there.
That's awesome. So how can people get in contact with you, or at least catch the film, get in contact to see the film?
Well, thank you for asking. So the website is beyondthedividefilm.com, and there's a lot to see there. People can sign up for the email list, and we have a Facebook page also to see what's happening. Right now, the best way to see the film would be to watch the trailer and bring it to your community, or have schools. There in a month there'll be an announcement of a way to bring it to schools through TUG. That is very exciting. And so we have some a 1-hour version that is ready that might be appropriate for some environments. We have an educator's guide that's being developed, some additional multimedia that could be used. I really have found that anywhere from high school students to any age would really find this valuable. I've had veterans tell me that it's been very healing, not just Vietnam veterans, but also I've had someone who was against the Vietnam War come up and say that I've been trying for decades to find a way to bridge a divide that's been between me and my brother, for example, or me and my father-in-law, and I've struggled with that, and this film has given me a way to be able to feel like I can heal some of the divides in my own family. So I just hope it makes a difference in people's lives.
Awesome. I got to geek out for a second. So
Please.
As a filmmaker, what does it feel like to go from an idea to actually having a product that's making a difference like that in someone's life?
It's kind of beyond words, because I think as a filmmaker you have a vision.
Right.
And you have to hold that vision through so many obstacles. Raising money is hard. You get turned down for grants. You get some, but you get rejected more than you get, just because of the numbers of people who are applying for things. You even film festivals, you get rejected from some, you get accepted to some. And I think holding the vision is really hard, but what happens is as you get from one stage to another, enough positive things happen that make you realize again and again that you're the one who, your job is to hold that vision, and that you need to just do everything you can to make it happen. And so this film I started in 2010, and I finished it in 2014, so took 4 years, and now it's been 5 years, and I still watch it. This sounds funny, but watch it with awe, because I sometimes can't believe that it really happened.
Yeah.
You know, I am humbled by it. I am inspired by it, and it's made me a better person. I think maybe more courageous, and maybe more used to knowing that rejection doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. You just have to hold on.
Right. Well, here's to sticking to the vision. Thank you so much for coming on this show.
I appreciate it.
I'm gonna hold my hand right here.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you. You know, I'm looking at you. Right?
I know, right?
Okay.
All right, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Kevin Sampson, I'm here with Dan Gallagher, one of the primary subjects of the film Beyond the Divide. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for your service.
And again,
Can you just tell us a little bit about the film and how Jan got in contact with you, and just how it's had an impact on your life?
the film, and I'll address it from the perspective of mainly the veteran point of view, but the film itself is a story about a Vietnam veteran who, and the Vietnam veteran community and the peace community finding common ground. Jan actually began working on the film by coming to Missoula to do a movie, a documentary on a peace sign that had been erected. Well, in the years of Vietnam, the peace symbol, the peace sign, and especially the sign on the hill, was very offensive to Vietnam veterans. And so she wanted to get that perspective as well. And she and I sat down and started talking, and I think at that point, the whole movie started morphing into something bigger than just a story about the peace sign going up in the hill. So from my perspective, as a Vietnam veteran, getting the story told, getting the Vietnam veteran story told, is something that's been really important to me since the 70s, and when I first experienced PTSD. So the movie has done that, is another way of doing that, and has done it very well, the production work that they've done. So that's, you know, as a Vietnam veteran, I feel like I've helped to contribute in some way to making the public and whoever watches this movie a little more aware of the Vietnam veterans' problems and the Vietnam veterans' potential.
Right, and I guess I was going to ask that, as someone that wasn't even alive during Vietnam, what is it that you hope the message of the film, what message do you hope reaches someone like me who wasn't even alive at that time?
And I think that point is a really good point. You know, being a historian, having a history degree, you know, you study history, and history can seem a real boring thing. And one of the things that it really pleased me about this movie is that we're showing it to a lot of young people, and we're not only teaching the history of the Vietnam War, but we're helping these young people understand the feelings and understand that these people who are a lot older than they are, who were in high school for their age when they actually were sent to war, that they were real people, had real feelings. It's not just a page in a history book of dead people. It's the fact that they understand what it's like to be a veteran, why they need to participate in deciding and helping decide and being involved in decisions as whether we go to war or not, and basically what the veteran does, what the veteran represents when he comes home, and that you can, as young people especially, but also as other veterans, as citizens in general, you can recognize the veteran's service without necessarily approving of the war. You know, we that understanding that you know, sometimes we think we have to, and war fever does this to people. We think we have to be totally in favor of pro-war, where there's only two people. There's conscientious objectors and there's warmongers in their eyes, and that doesn't have to be the truth, and that you can honorably serve and yet at the same time be for peace.
Okay, so I know that forgiveness is a big theme of the film. Um, could you just walk me through that process of, I know as you coming back to the town and seeing the peace symbol, and like how you were able to get over that over all those years?
I think forgiveness is part of the film, but I think by the term that or the two words that I like, I think even better are compassion and empathy. And I think that's what the film talks about. And I know when I came back, I very much opposed to the peace sign when it went up on the hill. I was definitely a Vietnam veteran, and I was embarrassed by and angered by all the peace people. And we weren't paying attention to some of the things that some of them were saying because we saw so much hypocrisy and we saw so much anger in their eyes, and it was directed at us. And at the same time, without knowing it, we were doing it to them. We weren't listening to them. We were talking over them. We weren't accepting the fact that even though we may not agree with them totally, we did have things in common. For example, if you're a veteran, you go to war, you want peace. Any person who's seen war wants peace, and so we had some commonality. For myself, the evolution came. It was a gradual thing. It's not something, as it says in the movie. It's not something that happens overnight. It's not a fast food thing. The evolution for me was over the years, as I plummeted into PTSD problems and Agent Orange related problems. The anger was still there, but little by little, the defensiveness started going away. I watched what the VA did as far as taking care of or not taking care of its Vietnam veterans. Watch what the public did. So little by little, I started realizing that how much we did have in common, and it wasn't one day. The closest thing to one day waking up and saying, oh, gee, we have some things in common. But there wasn't one day, but probably the closest thing to a singular day or singular activity was at the time I read the UNICEF report that talked about how many Vietnamese civilians had been killed after the war by American mines. And that was my job in Vietnam, was putting in mines and demolition. And I thought of the kids. And a little friend, a Vietnamese girl that I befriended who lived in my heart for a lot of years, but she, when I thought of these kids who were stepping on mines, and there was something like 20-some thousand who died in Vietnam, in my mind I would see this kid, her name was Dwick, I'd see this little girl, this little Vietnamese girl, and that comes back to bite you, that comes and haunts you. And so I realized at that point that the war wasn't over, and B, peace, genuine peace, is a pretty good idea, and we need to avoid doing this sort of thing to each other.
Right.
And I think war, President Carter said that war is sometimes a necessary evil, but no matter how necessary, it remains an evil. And I really subscribe to that theory. And I believe in honorable service. I believe in serving your country. I think it's a noble thing to serve. Mm-hmm. But I also hope to find a world where we don't go to war, where, much like the Cuban Missile Crisis, when President Kennedy did everything he could to avoid a war, and in the process probably avoided having half the American population blown up simply because he sought at every angle, everything he could do to avoid war. We need to do that. We need to think that way. War fever, is a dangerous thing. President Wilson talked about what a fearful thing it was to lead a great people into war, and it's so war. When I believe. My father was an Irish rebel in Ireland. I believe there are times that war is what is going to happen and maybe has to happen. And there are certainly bad people in the world that probably only understand war and the results of war. But by the same token, I think it's important, and I don't think we do this, we have to understand how important it is to try and resolve the conflicts. And that's one of the things I think this movie did. And as it progressed, I started realizing how that Betsy of the Peace Center was saying many of the same things I was saying, and that together, collectively, we could say them to a lot more people. And the other thing I have to admit is that doing this sort of thing is really therapy for me. I mean, I have PTSD, I have some issues related to Vietnam, Agent Orange, and others, but doing this movie and talking publicly is a way I help get myself through my problems, and it has been since way back when I first started doing the public radio and some of the other stuff I do. So this movie, you know, as far as how it moved from one point to the other, I think it was evolution. It was the evolution of a person with a lot of anger, being able to not change his way of thinking about what he had done or what his service meant, but understanding that there is a better way, and getting rid of the anger and trying to find the common ground was the better way. And you know, if we do that, we can avoid wars. And you know, I'm not a pacifist per se, but I do believe that anybody who knows war, I mean, who wants to send their kids to die a gory death? I mean, anybody who believes that war is somehow good and glorious and exciting. It is exciting in the sense that your adrenaline is flowing, but it's not exciting in a fun way. It is not a football game, and sometimes we think of it as this big football game, and it's not.
Right.
People die, 19-year-old kids in Vietnam with their intestines hanging out. It is not a fun thing to be part of. So we need to avoid it. In this movie, as the anger started going away, and I realized that there were some common bonds with the peace movement, and then the veteran community could benefit just as the peace community could benefit. That's, and then I have to also say, Jan coming and making the movie was really an inspiration. It really drew out of me. I had to spend time thinking. She'd set up an interview, and I'd think, okay, what am I going to say?
Right.
And it actually helped because I think it helped me articulate the things I was feeling.
Right.
And so this movie has actually been beneficial to me personally as far as issues I faced.
That's awesome. So last question. We're here at the GI Film Festival. What does a film festival like this mean to you?
Well, you know, in getting the message out, I'm aware, and I've done an amount of media back in Missoula, Montana, but I realize that we can talk to ourselves and we can talk to the wall, but the reality is we need the media. We need to get the message out, and getting it out in a creative way with the film festival, with the films, is you tell the story and people listen. And in the case of the young people, they watch a movie, they want to learn, they can learn that way. And so coming to the film festival, we're looking at people who are both motivated by the cause that we're here for, and at the same time are professional, or somewhat professional at least, in movie making and providing this creative entertainment. So to me, it's like kind of a culmination. It's like this platform, not just for me, but for all the people who come here, this opportunity to use the creative arts to get the story out, to reach more people. And plus, it's a fun place to be and good people to be around. And so,
well, Dan, thank you for talking to me. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for.
I'm here at the GI Film Festival with Christian DeAndrea, the director and producer of Resurrecting Warbirds. Christian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So first, can you just tell us a little bit about your film?
Yes, the film is called Resurrecting Warbirds. It's about this spirited band of gentlemen out in California who have an unusual pastime. What they do is they travel the world searching for downed World War II aircraft, planes that have been shot down, usually in dogfights, buried at the bottoms of lakes, buried in the ocean, hidden in sand dunes in the desert. They'll go, they'll find them, they'll salvage them carefully, lift them up out of lakes, lift them up off the bottom of the ocean, then they'll fly them back to their private hangars in Northern California. They own private hangars, by the way, full of warbirds in various stages of restoration. Then they will rebuild these planes, bolt for bolt, using all original pieces. So they'll find bolts on eBay from the 40s that are the exact part to help refurbish an engine or an engine mount. It's extraordinary. And they'll use the tools that are authentic from World War II as well in their private hangars, all self-funded. And once they've rebuilt these planes, they fly them in air shows, they race them in the Reno air races on occasion against modern planes sometimes. Screaming at 50 feet off the deck. It's incredible, it's dangerous, it's madness. And then they also do occasionally something that's really quite extraordinary, which is the human interest piece here. Not just the paying tribute to the World War II veterans, which they do every single day by restoring these amazing warbirds, and also paying tribute to the engineering prowess. It's extraordinary how beautiful these planes are and how well they fly. But one of the things that they do is sometimes, on occasion, the aviator who crashed in the plane did not die, did not perish in the crash. And they know, they research everything about these incidents. And if that aviator is alive, what they sometimes do is they'll call the aviator, who's in his 90s, let's say, and they'll say, hey, do you want to come out to California? We have something we want to show you. And the aviator, the guy says, well, I'm 95, I don't really want to travel. And they say, trust us, come out. He says, why? Trust us, come out. And the aviator, the veteran, will come to Northern California, they'll stand him in front of their hangar, they'll open the hangar doors, and they'll reveal to him the plane he crashed in 70 years ago, gleaming, looking brand new. The guy's floored, he recognizes his plane, and they'll say, do you want to go for a flight in your plane? And it gives me chills just to think about it. But one of the amazing things that one of the veterans said was, you know, what you've done for me, you've provided the final chapter in my life. This is the one this is the one last thing I had to do. I didn't know what it was, but going back up in the plane that I was shot down in 70 years ago, that I crashed in 70 years ago, has given me a sense of fulfillment that I didn't really realize I needed.
Wow.
Isn't that extraordinary?
That is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so how did you come into contact with these guys and the material? Because I mean, one, it sounds like an awesome reality TV series, but it's like better than the scripted ones, you know what I mean?
It might become a series, actually. So I practice the lost art of shunpiking. Do you know what shunpiking is?
I do not know what shunpiking is.
Okay, shunpiking is the lost art of knowing when to shun the turnpike, get off the main roads, get onto the side roads, and find the great stories, the hidden characters. So that's what I do. I shunpike.
Nice.
Tell your friends. So shunpiking.
Nice.
So at any rate, that's what I do, and I find stories, and I produced some documentary TV series. I've got a couple in development with the networks. And I find unusual slices of America, but what I try to specialize in is people who might be ignored or might have tucked themselves away, and yet they're doing things the right way. They're inspiring, they're mavericks, they're independent, and they kind of remind us of our best selves. And that's what I like to see. And these guys who do the Resurrecting of Warbirds, which is the film's title, they are self-funded, they're self-starters, they're independent guys, they go do it. They get permission from the federal government, but they aren't waiting on anyone's okay or sign-off. They have the rights to these planes, but they just go make it happen because they want to pay tribute to World War II veterans. That's their passion, and that's what they want to do. And that struck a chord with me. I said, you guys are doing this, and you're not doing it for TV attention. You're not doing it for the media. You're doing it because you love it and you want to pay tribute to the aviators from World War II and to the beauty of these planes and the craftsmanship. And you see what they're up to, and you walk into these hangars and they're gleaming, magnificent warbirds with teams of mechanics working, and it's all for the love of it. These guys spend, I won't disclose the amount of money, they spend a lot of money on this.
I can imagine.
Their own money.
Wow.
And they don't sell the planes for profit. They're not in it for commercial reasons. They're in it purely for the love of it and to pay tribute to veterans. And that blew my mind.
So, you know, sometimes you're not supposed to ask someone's age, but like what age level are these guys? And the reason that I'm asking that is because, you know, for me, as I was just talking to someone that's a Vietnam vet, I wasn't even alive at the time, right? But sometimes I feel like for the younger generation, we have a disconnect with the respect and gratitude for those that have come before us. So I'm kind of wondering the median age range for these guys, but then also the feedback so far for the film, and I guess in helping to connect, the respect and the gratitude for the past.
Well, it's a great question, and two answers. First, the film is premiering tomorrow, so it hasn't been shown before, which is exciting.
Okay.
So it's premiering here.
Awesome.
And the other part of it is that when people do see it, I have shown it to select groups, when they do see it, yes, you're right. A different generation can spark to it, and one of the reasons they can spark to it is because they can see the beauty of the airplane, and it's stunning to see a World War II era airplane gleaming in the sun, flying low over Sonoma Valley, California, right?
Right.
And it's a stunning visual, and then once you see that stunning visual, that's one of the great things about film is you can hook people with an amazing concept, and then once they're hooked, you can dive deep into the texture and the richness.
Right.
The planes are so beautiful, and they sound so incredible that people of all generations get hooked and they want to learn more, and that's when you can then supply them with the story, the backstory. Did you know that this plane was rebuilt and it crashed 70 years ago, and here's the story of that aviator, and that's when you can pay tribute. Whereas if you were to just start with the tribute, you might not get the same scope of audience because you haven't hooked them with that, and that's just a facet of human nature, right? We all want something that catches our attention. So this story has the great advantage of beautiful, gleaming, magnificent World War II warbirds, right?
Right.
And so that's its asset, and it does connect to people of all generations. I mean, you know how I know it connects to people of all generations?
How?
Because when I was telling you this story, I watched your face. So I know it connected with you.
It did.
And you are a fine representation of your generation.
Thank you. I appreciate
Which is
it.
which generation?
This is millennial.
You are one, really?
Exactly.
You're a bona fide millennial?
I am.
I'm touching a
You're
millennial? That's exciting.
I know, I just made the cutoff by 3 years.
But it's an interesting question, actually. I mean, you're a millennial. You've heard the story, what these guys do. I saw the reaction you had. Tell me about that. Tell me about your response to it.
Yeah, this is awesome. Flip the table, flip the script. Yeah, I mean, when you said it, I think what really impacted me the most was when you talked about the hangar opening up for the veteran to see the warbird. And, there's the documentary that came out about sound and how music would help older generation, instantly connect and they remember different things. And what you just said with the veteran that said, wow, this was a final chapter that I didn't know needed to be written.
Well said, yeah.
That to me is incredible. So that's kind of, like I said, my pull in, wow, just to see that transformation and the impact on the veteran.
You make a great point, which is that veteran saying, this is the final chapter of my life, this is what I didn't realize I needed, that's human. That isn't just for veterans or just for this group or that group. It's human nature, and that's why it's surprising to all of us, because it's, I think, refreshing and important to remember that they are still among us, these guys who lived in this extraordinary, epochal moment in American world history.
Yeah.
World War II, they're still here. At this film festival, on the opening evening, this is an incredible film festival, on the first night of the film festival on Capitol Hill, there was a screening of this great movie about the Doolittle raid, which is an extraordinary story in and of itself. And at the screening was Doolittle's co-pilot. He was 99 years old.
Wow.
He was really there. You walk up, you touch him, you're just looking at his eyes, and you realize, imagine what those eyes have seen, right? Imagine where he's been.
Right.
Just absolutely extraordinary. So an event, movies can make that point of connection with a different generation. A film festival like this one, which is important, is dedicated to making that kind of connection to all kinds of generations that have gone before. And it actually is a film festival that you're proud to be a part of for that reason, because it has an ethical core.
Yeah. So you just touched on it, and did you follow up with, say, the veteran? Did you capture their story? Did they say, yeah, I went up in this warbird and I remember, that day, this XYZ?
What's coming is probably a feature-length version of the documentary, in which you will see all of the follow-up, all of the backstory on that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so how can people view the trailer, find the film, pitch it?
Well, they can see it tomorrow here at the GI Film Festival,
Excellent.
May 23rd.
Okay.
And you should come. You can see all kinds of wonderful films tomorrow.
Definitely.
And today, and this evening. And it will also be either part of a documentary series on one of the networks, but I think what I'll do is I'll release this documentary short online. on a website called resurrectingwarbirds.com.
Okay. Awesome. Trishan, thank you so much for talking to me.
Hey, a real pleasure.
Good luck
Thanks
with
for your interest in
the
this.
film. Yeah, definitely.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Kevin Sampson, I'm here with Peter Carruthers, the director of the film Unload here at the GI Film Festival. Peter, welcome to the show, first of all.
Thank you.
So could you tell us a little bit about what your film is all about?
My film is about a veteran called Eddie, who's a veteran of the British Army. And he, about a year after when he has a baby with his wife, something triggers and something goes wrong, and these memories start to come back, and he starts to develop symptoms of PTSD. And the film is about looking at how that exacerbates and how that manifests, but then also how his wife encourages him to get help and how he goes about getting that help. And finding the right kind of help, that's the difficult thing.
I guess one question would be, how did you come across the material, and then also what does the message mean to you, and what's the message that you want your audience to receive?
Well, I was commissioned by the National Health Service in England to make a film that told a veteran's story going through therapy, rather than having to ask one of their clients to say it, which would be difficult. So I made a dramatic story based on research with those guys, with the veterans that they'd helped, and some previous work that I'd done as well. What I want the film to kind of say is just that if people can recognize themselves or people they know in the film, then it could encourage them to say, you know what, you're not on your own, and there is help out there. And it's important to keep going, keep getting that help, and keep trying different avenues until you do get there, because there's more than one way to skin a cat, and sometimes you have to find the right way.
Right, definitely. So have you had any reviews or feedback so far on the film? What's that been like?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. People have been really nice. It's gone down well in the UK already. It's been used for training and awareness for therapists, psychotherapists, anyone who works with veterans all over the country. So I was really keen to find out what the response would be over here, and like my previous films, it's translated really well, which is really nice. I'm actually in the process of hopefully setting up a tour of the film all around the States, where I would do a screening followed by a Q&A. Places like universities, military bases, mental health units, things like that.
Awesome. So a festival like this, the GI Film Festival, what does that mean to you?
I love this festival. This is my third time here in 3 years, because I've had three films now here on the subject of veterans. So what I love about this festival is that the films are they're secondary. The main thing is that we remember veterans and people serving and people lost, and it feels like a real family event for that everyone's together in the same cause. It's not a competition as such, and that's what I love about it.
Right. All right, so Peter, if people want to check out the film, how can they do it? Is there a website they could go to? Or?
Yeah, let me think. You probably best. The Twitter's probably the easiest way to get in touch with me. If you go to @unload_movie. Or you can find my email on petercrothers.co.uk.
Okay, awesome. Well, Peter, good luck with the rest of the festival, and thanks for coming on.
No problem, thank you.
Kevin Sampson, Picture Lock. I'm here with Mike Edwards, the director of The Forgotten Angel of Bastogne. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
One of the first questions I always love to ask everyone is just, when did you first fall in love with film?
Oh boy. I fell in love with film, I think, when I was in 6th grade. My parents gave me a still camera that I took slide film, and really was impacted by images at that point. Went from there to college, graduated with a degree in mass communications, and then came back to where I currently live in Columbus and started as an intern in a production company there.
Okay, awesome. And this documentary is not your first. Yellow Roses was the first one. Can you talk a little bit about what that film is all about, but then also how it prepared you for this film?
Yellow Roses was a film about the lives of teen girls and what they face every day. We interviewed tons of girls on a whole bunch of different topics, and it really just taught me the value of working through a story, being able to be flexible when you go in. Sometimes you think you have a certain plan, and when you get in there it needs to change, and so being flexible is good. So it was a good precursor, I guess, to the film that we're doing now. Plus, I've owned my own production company since 2002, and we do videos for companies all over the world. So that's, that's also in my background. So.
All right, so for The Forgotten Angel, how did you come across the story?
I met a man by the name of Martin King, who's a military historian and he lives in Belgium. And he shared with me the story and was just captured by it. We ended up filming over in Belgium with him and then eventually premiered the film in Bastogne this past March.
So from pre to post, about how long did it take to actually create
it? 3.5 months, which normally takes somebody about a year
yeah.
to do. The reason why it was such a short time period was because we were asked by the mayor of Bastogne to premiere the film at the opening of a historical center in Bastogne. So we worked extremely hard to get a version done, and we ended up doing it.
So first off, for the audience, can you just talk about what the film is actually about?
The film is about a nurse who served during World War II. She was Belgian. She was born in the Congo. So she's a black nurse, and she basically lived in Bastogne. She was going to medical school, nursing school, in a town called Louvain, which was north of Bastogne. Her father asked her to come home for Christmas break, had no idea of what was about to take place with the Battle of the Bulge. The Battle of the Bulge, people think it's a weight loss program. It's actually not. It's the largest land battle in U.S. military history. It's massive. And so all this is about ready to occur. Augusta comes home for Christmas break, and she ends up volunteering her time and actually giving of her life to take care of American GIs. But she never, ever got recognized for any of her service. She basically disappeared after the war.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, and I think the documentary, it really boils down to just great character, right? And I'm talking about character in the sense of values. And for her character, one of the things that I'm wondering is, how do you infuse that character development into the documentary? Because Martin is a character, Pryor is a character, all these different...
I think the challenge that we had as a team was trying to not get the audience lost. Because there are 2 or 3 storylines that we have to carry throughout the film, and we don't want to lose you. Because if we lose you, we're dead. And so my scriptwriter and I, Joe Ashley, spent a very, very long time talking about the mechanics of how the documentary mechanically would work. And what we decided on was that we would run 2 main stories in parallel. So when this one kind of died off a little bit, we'd pick back up on this one. So it's kind of that, for lack of a better term, that yin and yang back and forth.
Right. And I think you did an excellent job because there's a lot of history in the film.
Yeah.
But the way that you presented it, you could easily digest what was going on, and then at the same time, you definitely get engaged with, the characters and fall in love with The Forgotten Angel. One of the questions I had is, you have a slow reveal that you kind of hold back from us until the end. Just what was your thought process in creating that moment? Because I think that moment is really like where it takes the documentary from like here to like there.
Yeah, I think I wanted to keep the audience in suspense because you don't know what's going to happen with Martin. You think you might know, and sometimes you think, oh, there might be a light at the end of the tunnel here, but maybe not. And that was what I was trying. I was trying in the documentary to almost follow a 3-act structure of a narrative film, where you have the beginning, the middle, and the end. The climax and the denouement and all the classic terms of film. And Joe and I, when we were scripting it out, we actually tried to actually follow that and actually plot those points for the audience. Because ultimately, it's like Hitchcock says, I'm not directing the actors, I'm directing the audience. That's what you're doing. So that's what we were trying to do in the film.
Again, excellent job. I definitely think it worked. One of the things that I really loved is the visuals. So if you could just talk a little bit about the animation, but the special effects, because you know, it's so hard to take photographs from the past and make them jump and come to life. But you can definitely tell that you had artifacts where there was one particular shot where you know, there's military guys that were in a tank in the snow, and then it looked like it was actually snowing. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for noticing that.
Yeah.
We spent a long time on that. Yeah, I talked to my dear friend Nate Lundquist, who is just a dear friend of mine, who's a visual effects artist. And I said, Nate, I have a story that I need your help with, because I said I wanted it to be something different. I wanted to bring these photos to life somehow, and could you help me do that? And that completely is all him. And he really took to the story and took to the challenge and said, I'll help you. So that was just, I'm forever thankful that he said yes.
Yeah, job well done. Another specific one was light coming through the window at one point. This is amazing. I'm like, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
All right, so just tell us, where is the film now? How can people see it, or are you trying to get it out there to people?
Right now, we are seeking a sponsor. We need a sponsor, and sponsors can be participating with us in a number of ways. There's the presenting sponsor, so in other words, the Forgotten Angel of Bastogne, presented by, so forth, whoever. There are some lower tier sponsors as well. We are working right now to get the film to television. We're approaching 4 or 5 different networks at this point. Don't know whether they'll say yes or no. We hope that one of them would say yes. But more than that, we want to get it also out to schools, just to the general public as well. I think the story for me is one of those things that Augusta took a look at somebody's humanity and their humanness. I think a lot of times we get caught up in the whole black and white and race and this. It's like, no, I need to look at you as a human being.
Right.
You know, that has worth and has value, and look at you for that, right? And not automatically just look at whatever. And I think Augusta did that. And I think what we and other people need to hear that, and they need to see that and be inspired by that. And so that's why we want to try to get it out there. So.
Yeah. Last question. We're here at the GI Film Festival. What does a festival like this mean to you?
This is actually my first ever film festival.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
I had no idea what to expect. I've never been to a film festival before. So I just was like, well, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
You know? So no, it was a great experience. Really enjoyed meeting some great people. And, you know, we're entering into some other festivals as well, and just kind of seeing where it goes. I think when we show it, you know, it has been hard, you know, when you're trying to convince people at the network level or whatever. Sometimes it's hard and you get discouraged, you know.
Yeah.
And any documentary filmmaker will tell you that. It's a tough road. But we're just not going to quit. We're just going to keep going and see what happens, and hopefully somebody will fall in love with it. You just need one yes. That's all you need.
That's true. That's
So,
very true.
yep.
Well, Mike, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Excellent film.
Thank
Excellent
you.
film. That's all for this year's film festival. I'd like to thank Brandon and Laura Millett for having us out. You can find film reviews, news, and more at picturelockshow.com. And if you live in the DMV area, make sure you subscribe for free screenings. Until next time, stay locked on film.